Hi, welcome back to my series Home Buying 101. And today we're talking about something really important. You found that beautiful home with the gourmet kitchen and that fabulous backyard with the pool. But what's hiding behind the walls, underneath the house? We've got to figure that one out. I'm Janice Explains, a realtor at Chenoweth & Cohen Realtors. And today in Janice Explains Why, we're going to talk about why inspections matter. And let me be very clear. I would never advise a buyer to not have a home inspection and a termite inspection completed. Never in a million years. Skipping inspections is simply not a good idea. You may be buying a home that appears beautiful, clean, and well-maintained from the outside, but appearances do not tell you whether the electrical system is safe, the roof is leaking, the heating and air system is failing, or termites may have been quietly snacking away at the structure for years. A home may be one of the largest purchases you will ever make. Spending a few $100s to learn as much as possible about that home before closing is money well spent, in my opinion. Most buyers begin with a general home inspection performed by an Oklahoma licensed home inspector. A general inspector evaluates many of the home's major components and systems. That may include the roof, the foundation, electrical system, plumbing, heating, and cooling systems. They'll inspect your appliances. They'll go in the attic crawl space. They'll look at the windows and other visible areas of the property. But a general home inspector is not necessarily a specialist in every trade. Some buyers choose to spend additional money for separate inspections by licensed professionals that are specialists. They may hire a heating and air professional to inspect the HVAC system, a roofing contractor to inspect the roof, a plumber to inspect the sewer line or plumbing system, and a structural engineer to evaluate the foundation concerns. Sometimes a structural engineer is very important in Oklahoma. Many buyers begin with the general home inspection and then use the inspector's findings to determine whether one of those specialty inspections is needed. For example, the general inspection may notice evidence of foundation movement, but recommend that a structural engineer determine whether there is actually a serious problem that needs to be addressed. The inspector may discover that the air conditioning system is operating, but it's not cooling properly, and recommend further evaluation. Or the inspector may see signs of moisture but be unable to determine where the water is actually coming from without additional investigation. This is why scheduling the general inspection as early as possible is so important. You need enough time to obtain additional inspections when a concern is discovered. Time management after you have gotten under contract is everything. Under the Oklahoma residential sales contract, the buyer is given a specific amount of time to do the inspections, review them, and then determine what further inspections they may need. They need to be sure to look at the time reference date. However, number of days can be negotiated and written differently in your contract. That means you do not automatically have all the time in the world. During that inspection period, we may need to schedule the general home inspection, termite inspection, sewer scope, roof inspection, heating and air inspection, structural inspection, or any other investigation that may be appropriate for that particular property. The home inspection is normally paid for by the buyer either before the inspection or at the time the inspection is performed. The termite inspection is also normally paid for before or at the inspection, unless another arrangement has been made. The home inspection and termite inspection can often be scheduled for the same day, which can save valuable time. Once the inspections are completed, we carefully review the reports. Now, this is important. A home inspection is not supposed to become a wish list of every small cosmetic item a buyer would like changed. I have had buyers concerned about everything from a loose screw to a major structural problem. It is my job to help my clients separate ordinary maintenance and cosmetic preferences from conditions that may materially affect the home or one of its systems. Under the Oklahoma contract, a defect generally involves a condition, malfunction, or problem that is not merely decorative and that has a materially adverse effect on the value or the function of a system or component. In Oklahoma, the document commonly used to request treatments, repairs, or replacements is called the TRR, the Notice of Treatments, Repairs, and Replacements. The TRR must be delivered within the deadline established by the contract. Under the current form, the buyer must generally provide the inspection reports and either cancel the contract or submit the TRR within 24 hours after the inspection period expires. Miss that deadline, and the buyer may lose important contractual rights. This is another reason I push hard to get inspections scheduled quickly. Waiting until the last minute is very risky and unnecessary and can leave everyone scrambling. Once the TRR is delivered to the seller, the buyer and seller enter the negotiation period. If that section of the current Oklahoma contract is left blank, the parties generally have 7 days after delivery of the TRR to reach a written agreement. However, that period too can be changed in the contract if both agree. The seller does not necessarily have to agree to every repair requested either. The seller may agree to complete all requested repairs, agree to complete only some of them, decline the request, propose another solution, or negotiate other terms. Depending upon the property, the contract, the lender, and the agreement of both parties, the parties may sometimes negotiate repairs, replacements, and treatments, closing cost assistance, or even a price adjustment. However, a price reduction does not put cash into the buyer's pocket to repair the house immediately after closing. A lower purchase price may only slightly lower your monthly payment. That is why we carefully consider whether the buyer needs the actual repair completed instead. If the buyer and seller reach an agreement, it must be put in writing. The seller must then complete the agreed treatments, repairs, or replacements before closing, unless the parties agree otherwise in writing. The buyer may also have the agreed repairs re-inspected, although the buyer is generally responsible for the costs of that re-inspection. There are also situations in which we may need to ask for additional time. It's not uncommon. Perhaps the inspector recommends a structural engineer, but no engineer is immediately available to schedule. Maybe the sewer line cannot be properly scoped because of a blockage. The utilities may not have been turned on, which they should be. Severe weather can also prevent the roof from being inspected safely. After all, it is Oklahoma. A contractor may need to access After all, it is Oklahoma, and severe weather may prevent the roof from being inspected safely on a particular day. A contractor may need access to provide an evaluation or estimate. The inspection report may be delayed, or a specialist may need several extra days to reach the property due to schedules. These things happen, and when they do, an extension should be requested before the existing deadline expires and must be agreed to in writing by both parties, the buyer and the seller. You cannot simply assume the deadline has been extended because someone verbally said that should be fine. In real estate, the written contract controls. It controls everything. Inspections are not about finding a perfect house. Perfect houses do not exist, not even brand new ones. Inspections are about making an informed decision. They help you understand the condition of the property. They help you identify possible safety concerns. They prepare for future maintenance and determine whether you still feel comfortable moving forward with the purchase after you've seen the defects. Could a buyer waive inspections? Possibly, depending upon the transaction and the financing. Would I recommend it? Absolutely not. Never, never, never. I would not gamble hundreds of thousands of dollars to save the cost of a home inspection and a termite inspection. No inspector, of course, can guarantee that every hidden problem will be discovered. Inspectors cannot see through walls, beneath the flooring, or inside every underground pipe. But purchasing a home without inspections means choosing to know even less. That is not a gamble I recommend taking. The goal is not to frighten you away from the home. The goal is to help you walk into homeownership with your eyes wide open, your questions answered, and as much information as reasonably possible. Because home is more than a purchase. Home is where your heart lives. I'm Janice Sizemore with the Sizemore team at Chenoweth & Cohen Realtors. And this has been your Janice Explains for today. When you are ready to begin your journey home, visit OklahomaHomematch.com or call or text me at 918-982-5780. And remember, Janice Explains so you can make informed real estate decisions with confidence. This information is provided for general education purposes and is not legal, lending, engineering, inspection, or tax advice. Contract terms and deadlines vary, so always review your contract and consult the appropriate qualified professionals. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Hey, OklahomaHomematch.com. OklahomaHomematch.com. One stop from pre-approval to closing and beyond. Buying, selling land or homes, we're with you every step along. OklahomaHomematch.com. OklahomaHomematch.com. Trusted guide and start to done, we'll help you find the perfect one. Visit OklahomaHomematch.com. Home is where your heart lives.